Okay, so now we're going to solve a quadratic by using the square root property. Before we get to a quadratic, I want to go over something with you though, just to remind you that when you take the square root of x squared, you get x. And the reason for that is x squared is there. Taking the square root of something is like raising it to the 1/2 power. And then this is when you have x to the m raised to the n, it's x to the m times n. So 2 times 1/2 is 1. So we get x. Okay? So long story short, square root of x squared equals x. So whatever's in there, we say falls out. It's kind of like the square root undoes the squares, how some students like to think about it. But this is the real, what's really going on is this right here. Okay? Right here is the derivation of why that works. Okay? And that also accounts for expressions like a binomial squared. Okay, so the square root of x plus 2 squared also equals x plus 2. So that falls out. Okay? Alright, so now we can talk about the square root property. So the square root property, the problem they have given us is 3 times x plus 4 squared equals 21. Okay, so the first thing you want to do for the square root property is you want to isolate the squared term. By isolate, what I mean is that that's all I want on that side on one side of the equation. Right now we have 3 times the squared term on one side. So whenever you have multiplication, you want to get rid of something, you divide, right? So they'll cancel. This is 7. So we have x plus 4 squared equals 7. So isolate the squared term. That's done. Now that's isolated. Now what we want to do, number 2, take the square root of both sides. Okay, take the square root of both sides. So we're going to take the square root of the left side and the right side. So on this side, the x plus 4 drops out, right? Based on what we went over earlier. And this side, square root of 7 is irrational. So we're going to keep that in the square root, okay? And remember, when you take the square root in these quadratics, you want both the plus and the minus, the negative, the positive and the negative roots. Okay, so don't forget to bring that down. And what that does is this actually becomes 2 equations. You end up getting x plus 4 equals a positive square root of 7, and you get x plus 4 equals a negative square root of 7. So we subtract 4 from both sides, and you get x equals, I'm going to go ahead and put my number first. X is going to equal a negative 4 plus square root of 7. And if I subtract 4 up here, I'm going to get x equals a negative 4, I'm going to switch these, minus square root of 7. So these are my 2 solutions to this equation. Okay? And again, these are x-intercepts. Okay? All right, thank you. Let me say real quick, you want to keep this as a square root of 7 and a minus square root of 7. That is the most accurate form of that number. Do not make that a decimal. Keep it like this. And some teachers may want you to put things in a solution set, so you want to go with the most negative first, which would be this, followed by the most positive or ascending order, least to greatest. It's not, it might not be anything negative. Okay, thank you.